Have you ever heard of a forgotten prophecy? An ancient revelation, hidden for centuries within the secret archives of the Vatican? Some say it speaks of a pope who doesn't even exist yet, a man named Leo XIV, whose coming would mark the beginning of a new era or the end of it. Sounds like fiction, doesn't it? But what if I told you that there are records, documents, and signs that point to exactly this? That within the history of the Church itself, there are clues to a final prophecy, and that it may be about to be fulfilled before our eyes? Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover now may surprise you. Since the early centuries of Christianity, the role of the Pope has always carried enormous spiritual weight. Each new pontiff is seen as the supreme shepherd of the Church, the successor of Peter, the one who keeps the flame of faith alive. But among scholars of biblical prophecies, there is an ancient and disturbing theory that there will be a last pope, a mysterious man emerging in times of crisis who will bear the seal of prophecy, thepop of the end. And according to some interpreters of apocryphal texts and mystical visions, this man would be the Pope Leo XIV. The name lion carries powerful symbolism. In the Bible, the Lion of Judah represents strength, authority, and the triumphant return of Christ. But there is also another side, the roaring lion seeking whom he may devour, described in the book of Peter as the figure of evil disguised as light. This is why many theologians and researchers believe that when this name reappears on the throne of Rome, the world will witness something unprecedented, the fulfillment of final prophecy. But where does this idea come from? Who first mentioned Leo XIV? And why, among so many possible names, has this become one of the most feared among scholars of end times prophecy? Some claim it all began with Saint Malachy, a 12th century Irish archbishop, known for his predictions about the 112 popes. Others believe the origin lies in a forgotten 19th century letter supposedly found in the Vatican's secret archives, containing an eerily accurate description of a future pope named Leo XIV, a man who would emerge when faith was divided and humanity was on the brink of collapse. What if I told you that some recent events already seem to echo these ancient words? Scandals, internal divisions, persecutions, and a crisis of faith that is affecting the Church like few times before in history. Coincidence? Or the first signs that something bigger is approaching? It's curious to think that, while most people see only politics and controversy, others see the step-by-step fulfillment of a prophetic plot drawn out centuries ago. Imagine for a moment the emergence of a new pope with that name, a charismatic, determined man, eager to reform the Church, but who, at the same time, inspires distrust and fear. For some, he would be Thelist, faithful shepherd before the end. For others, the supreme deceiver, which would pave the way for the Antichrist. Who would be right? The truth is, if the prophecies are true, Leo XIV will not be just another name in the history of the Church. He will be the turning point for humanity. Some say the Vatican knows more than it lets on, and that certain documents have never been made public for a reason, to protect the world from a fear it isn't yet ready to face. But how long can this be hidden? What if ancient visions are already being fulfilled one by one, while most people aren't even aware of it? In the next few minutes, you will understand where this prophecy came from, why it was silenced, and what exactly it says about the Papa Leo XIV and the final destiny of the Church. And while you think about all this, about what might really be hidden behind the name Leo XIV, it's impossible not to wonder, to what extent is the Church prepared for what's coming? Or rather, to what extent are we? The topic may seem distant, but it speaks directly to faith, to the times in which we live, and to humanity's spiritual destiny. Every detail, every sign, seems to fit together like pieces of a vast puzzle that little by little begins to reveal itself. And that's precisely why I want to know what you think about it. What's your take on these prophecies? Do you believe there's something truly hidden, or is it all just human interpretation? Leave a comment below with what's caught your attention so far. Your opinion is important, because it's in the debate, in the exchange between people seeking to understand the same mystery, that the pieces begin to connect. Sometimes what you perceive may be exactly what someone needed to see from a different perspective. If this topic awakens in you the same curiosity and fascination that moves so many people around the world, take advantage and leave the like if this helps a lot, more than you might think. Every like shows YouTube that this type of content has value, that there are still people interested in seeking meaning, history, and spirituality amid modern chaos. And of course, if you want to continue following these investigations into prophecies, visions, and the secrets that the Church has never revealed, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Your presence here isn't just a number, it's what keeps this space alive. What makes this message reach more people, and what motivates me to continue bringing stories that few have the courage to explore. Participation is what keeps all this going. So comment, like, subscribe, and come with me, because what's about to be revealed about Leo XIV, the call Final Purification, completely change the way you see the future of faith, and perhaps even the future of the world. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because to understand who was Saint Malachy is essential to understanding the impact of the prophecy involving the name Leo XIV. In the 12th century, this Irish archbishop claimed to have received a detailed vision of all the popes who would rule the Church until the end of time. He wrote a list of 112 Latin mottos, each describing the spirit, origin, or destiny of a pontiff. And most intriguingly, throughout history, many of these mottos seem to coincide with royal attire in a way that was almost impossible to ignore. It's as if an invisible script had been followed for centuries, leading the Church on a journey of ascension, crisis, and purification. When the last name on the list is translated, it brings a mysterious message: Peter the Roman, who will feed the sheep in the midst of great tribulation. After him, the text says, Rome would be destroyed and the terrible judge would judge the people. Many scholars believe that this phrase speaks not of a single man, but of an era, a time when faith would be tested as never before. And it is at this point that the theory of Leo XIV, a pope who is not on the list, but who would represent the restart or the end of this prophetic cycle. This story is not just about religion, but about transformation and mindset, about how spiritual decisions shape entire civilizations. The hidden truth is that, behind the symbols and prophecies, there is a silent struggle between earthly and divine power. Each pope carries with him not only the weight of the Church, but also the echo of the generations that preceded him. And perhaps, if Malachy's visions are more than coincidence, we are closer to the end point than we imagine. Comment here, that makes sense to me. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because there is a detail that few know, and it completely changes the way we see this prophecy. In 1958, during a reorganization of the Vatican secret archives, a restricted group of scholars would have found an ancient manuscript, dating back centuries, with a direct mention of a pope called Leo XIV. The text, written in Latin, spoke of a shepherd who will emerge at the end of the cycle, bringing the final warning before the Great Silence. No official church document has publicly confirmed its existence, but reports from within the Vatican itself claim that the contents were immediately sealed and classified as confidential material. Since then, the manuscript has been known among researchers as the Lost Prophecy. Most intriguingly, this letter contains symbols, expressions, and dates that seem to align with St. Malachy's descriptions. Some scholars argue that, between the lines and metaphors, the text spoke of a global spiritual transformation, preceded by a period of confusion and loss of faith within the Church itself. Others believe it was simply a warning about the need to renew the Christian mindset in times of crisis. In any case, the impact of this discovery was enough to generate unrest among those who had access to it, and for many, this explains why the Vatican preferred silence. These behind-the-scenes details still hide much more than we imagine, and perhaps the true meaning of the prophecy lies beyond the words written on that parchment. Comment below. I'm on that journey too. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because understanding the Neme Leonis to delve into one of the most powerful symbols in biblical history. In Scripture, The lion has always represented strength, authority, and justice, and above all, Christ himself is called the Lion of the tribe of Judah in Revelation 5:5, the only one worthy to open the book and break its seals. This title carries an energy of spiritual victory, of someone who arises to restore order when all seems lost. But at the same time, there's a duality in this symbol. The lion is also described in other passages as one that roars about, seeking whom it may devour. It is the power of light and the power of darkness coexisting under the same image. When the name Leo XIV appears in a prophecy, it's not just a papal title, it's a sign loaded with meaning. The number 14 in turn symbolizes cycles and endings. In some mystical traditions, it represents the balance between judgment and redemption. Together, the name and number form an almost encrypted message, a pope who would bring with him the weight of judgment, but also the promise of restoration. This hidden truth leads many to believe that the emergence of Leo XIV would be the watershed between authentic faith and spiritual corruption. The journey of this name within the prophecies is not only religious, but also psychological and symbolic. It speaks of transformation, mindset, and choices. Because, at some level, we all face our own lions, the forces that test us, shape us, and reveal who we truly are. Comment below. That makes sense to me. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Because the prophecies about the time of Leo XIV not arise in isolation, they seem to echo in the visions of saints and mystics throughout the centuries. One of the most striking accounts comes from Katerina Emmerich, who claimed to have seen a divided church surrounded by shadows, as two popes fought spiritually for the same throne. In her visions, she spoke of a humble leader, dressed in white, who would face a moral storm within the Vatican itself. Decades later, Padre Pio he also mentioned, in personal letters, a time of purification that would be accompanied by confusion and suffering, when even the faithful would doubt their own faith. These messages, coming from different eras, form a mosaic of warnings. It's as if each vision were a fragment of a hidden truth, preparing the world for an unprecedented spiritual transition. Many scholars argue that these revelations point directly to the emergence of a reforming pope, someone who would emerge amidst the chaos to try to restore the essence of the faith, a man who, for some, would represent the beginning of transformation perits, and for others, the harbinger of final judgment. What's most intriguing is how these visions span generations, revealing patterns that repeat themselves with frightening precision. Perhaps the name Leo XIV not just a title, but the symbol of a time that has already begun to manifest itself before us, silently. Right there, I'm on that journey too. In recent years, the sense that something profound is happening within the church has become impossible to ignore. Successive scandals, internal divisions, and a growing loss of faith among the faithful and even religious leaders show that the spiritual fabric of the world seems to be shaking. What was once unshakable is now fragmented by ideological disputes, political agendas, and a dwindling search for divine truth. Many are already calling this moment the dark night of the church, a period in which the sacred is questioned and the profane gains ground. And most disturbingly, several ancient prophecies describe this very scenario as the prelude to something much greater, an inevitable transformation before the emergence of the last pontiff, the one who would mark the end of an era. As the world grows accustomed to chaos, the spiritual behind the scenes seems to move silently, preparing the stage for the final revelation. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Comment. That makes sense to me. Among so many interpretations and signs, the figure of Leo XIV emerges as a breaking point, a name shrouded in mystery, yet loaded with symbolism. According to ancient prophecies, he would be a man of unshakable faith, yet firm, almost inflexible in the face of error. A pope who would not seek to please the masses, but rather to purify what had been corrupted. His leadership would mark a profound transformation, a kind of dividing line between what the church was and what it must become to survive. But this same strength would make him a target of rejection within the clergy itself, provoking a split that many would see as the fulfillment of ancient warnings. Some would call him a reformer, others, a destroyer. What no one would deny is that impact his presence would have, a flame that both illuminates and consumes. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Write it down. I'm on this journey too, and it is precisely here that everything divides, as if history had reached a point where everyone must choose which side they are on. For some, Leo XIV would be the last guardian of true faith, the one who comes to restore what time and corruption have tried to erase. A symbol of purification, courage, and a return to origins. But, for others, he would be the great deceiver, the false prophet mentioned in the Apocalypse, a man who, under the guise of holiness, would lead the spiritual world into one of the greatest illusions ever seen. It is this contrast that makes everything even more intriguing, because the same actions that some see as signs of light, others interpret as shadows of a deception prepared centuries ago. Deep down, perhaps the truth lies in intention, not appearance. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Comment: that makes sense to me. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Because when we look at the scriptures, we find parallels that seem tailor-made for the figure of Leo XIV and books like Daniel and Revelation. There are descriptions of times of great conflict where faith is tested, leaders are challenged, and truth becomes an invisible battlefield, fought between good and evil. These passages speak of falling kingdoms, false guides, and signs in the heavens, but also of redemption and the promise of those who stand firm. It's as if the final prophecy weren't just about one man, but about an entire era, a journey of transformation spiritual that involves every decision, every leadership choice, and every step of the Church towards its own purification. The impact of this parallel is profound. It suggests that the emergence of Leo XIV may coincide with the apex of this battle, where the spiritual and earthly worlds intertwine, and where every action taken by the new pope would carry consequences that reverberate not only among the faithful, but throughout human history itself. These revelations show that prophecy is not just a distant warning. It has behind the scenes, intentions, and signs that manifest silently, waiting to be interpreted. Right there, I'm on this journey too. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because when we think about the consequences of a pope like Leo XIV, not just talking about institutional changes, but an impact that touches the faith, mindset, and even the perception of reality of millions of people. Imagine decisions made silently, behind the scenes at the Vatican, that can shape the spiritual future of generations. Each act, each reform or warning would carry a symbolic and practical weight, reflecting the tension between tradition and renewal, between the human and the divine. The hidden truth here is that this prophecy is not limited to ancient words and manuscripts. It pulsates in the choices, signs, and interpretations we follow, inviting each of us to reflect on our own journey of faith and discernment. And then the inevitable question arises: if the next pope really is Leo XIV, will it be the beginning of a new era or the end of it? Prophecy, with all its mystery and complexity, challenges us to look beyond the obvious, to question and ponder the role of the spiritual leader, the weight of decisions, and the unfolding of the Church's destiny. Write it down. I'm on that journey too. If you've made it this far, you've already been on an intense journey through prophecies, signs, and mysteries that few dare to explore. And I want to know, what did you feel when you heard all this? Leave a comment with something like, "I'm with you until the end," if this message really resonated with you. Knowing that we're together in this reflection makes all the difference. And if this content brought new perspectives or sparked curiosity, take advantage and leave a like. It's a way to recognize the value of each discovery we share and strengthen the connection we create during the video. If you want to continue exploring the mysteries of prophecy and understand even more about the signs surrounding Pope Leo XIV, there's a video here that complements this subject. Click and continue with me there. Let's continue together on this journey of discoveries, revelations, and interpretations that can transform the way you see the spiritual world.